Hello, friends and folks, and welcome back to another episode of Neutral Game and part 2 of our discussion of Street Fighter 6. I'm Six Detmar.
I'm Kyrie Page, and they didn't call it Street Fighter Kyrie, they called it Street Fighter 6 for a reason. It's your game.
This is my war. Yeah, last time we dropped off in the middle because we'd gone longer than expected and my voice was giving out. So we're here to finish the job.
Round 2, ready, start.
Yeah, we got through pretty much like our personal history with Street Fighter, the roll up to Street Fighter 6, talking about 4 and 5, some characters we wanted to talk about, the basic systems, and now we're kind of going to pick up where we left off and talk about some of the other members of the cast.
Yeah, because there's a whole, like, we covered about half of the cast list last time, and there's some other, I think this will be, like, slightly shorter because these aren't characters we really have played much, but there's still some interesting stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I think... And one of the weird stories, I think, has been the surprise impact of Blanka. This is primarily following the first big tournament.
Yeah.
Right?
I believe it was CEO. No. It was Combo Breaker? No, CEO.
I think it was CEO. It was CEO.
Yeah.
Where a player who had not been playing Blanka for most of the tournament had two characters, ended up using Blanka to take the win.
Yes, it was Mena RD who I previously had mentioned was like the champion of the 2017 Capcom Pro Tour, and he won with Blanka, which is like, I mean, it's one of those things where like the early life of a game is still being defined, and Blanka is like, I don't know if he's strong or weak, but he won a major, so, and that has to do with a lot with the skill of the player, obviously.
But it also, I mean, I have seen one of my favorite fighting game players, Apology Man, Vinith Mecca, has also been playing Blanka, and through his videos, I've seen a decent amount of at least his version of Blanka's game plan. And I suppose I will praise them for, I have for the history of Street Fighter, I've been a Blanka hater, right? Like, low key, I don't need to go out there and like attack people over it, but it's like, I think this design sucks.
Yeah.
And I guess I do respect the effort to make him different, because historically Blanka has been a character who, even more than Guile, just sort of sits there and is like, do something I can punish, right?
Right. And it's sort of, and he is also, like Guile, is also a charge character, and a lot of it is just sort of, okay, I'm waiting a neutral horizontal Blanka ball or a vertical Blanka ball, you know. But they did make some changes for, like, he showed up in 5, right? Yes, I believe
yes, he
so.
did.
Yeah. But, like, one of the major changes that they added is, like, giving him a projectile. Which is a Blanka-chan like doll that he has to use his electric special to charge up, but that has given him like another. It's a setup option, but it's an option nonetheless. And I've seen some like combos that people have come up with by way of using the doll to for their setups. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it is. He sort of drops it down, as you say, and then he ignites it and it runs forward and does a couple of attacks. It's very much that, you know, go my child, hold down the Oki style of move. And between that and his level 2 super, which I don't know, like, I don't play Blanka, I don't know exactly how it works. What I know is it allows him to basically cancel Blanka Ball into Blanka Ball. And the combination is you've taken this character who typically just sort of sits there and waits for something to punish, which is an obnoxious playstyle to me, and turned him into a chip monster vortex character, which is a different kind of awful design.
Right. It's like, oh boy, here is the other type of annoying character to fight.
because like I have seen Apology Man himself, like he will. I don't know if he'll be the first to say it. I think he'll have his natural hesitance before admitting this, but he will pretty quickly admit, as he has on videos and on stream, that the level 2 super has carried him to ridiculous victories because it's broken. Because you play Blanca, you get someone to burn out, and then you activate level 2 super and do a block string that lasts the entire length of that super and does about 25% of their health and chip, and they die.
Right. Kind of like back like when we were talking about Ultra 4 DJ in a lot of ways. It's like, oh yeah, spend all these resources to get the chip death, which is, as we said, harder to get in this game, but not that much harder to get.
For some characters, it's harder than others, right? And Blanca has a very easy time doing it. Which is not to say I think Blanca is an easy character to play in this game. By any means. I think especially a lot of the setups with that Blanca-chan doll require some very precise timing. You have to have you have to have good hands for this stuff. And he can get punished for just playing his game. But yeah, I personally think he's one of the big whiffs for me on the roster, because just seeing what they've done to him, I as I say, I appreciate that they've taken him new places. It's just, it feels like we've gone from like one shitty archetype to another.
Yeah. Never been my character to play. I just never really liked the design or anything like that. But hey, I if nothing else, I do appreciate that Apology Man has another character to just mess people up with.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I became an Apology Man fan was back in Marvel 3 when he played, the Firebrand team, and his go-to has kind of always been finding the character that is the best example of what's wrong with the game. So it's just another instance of that, I guess.
Or twice now, green character with long limbs. Well, 3 times.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Blanca, I think. There was another character that I had thought would, I think a lot of people in the community were thinking was going to be this, big meta-defining character, but I don't know if that's necessarily true. JP.
Yeah, I mean, JP is one of the most popular picks, so I think he's meta-defining in that way, just that you're going to see him a lot, and I also do think he's very strong. But, there was a lot of, as there often is, when you see this guy in the beta, there was a lot of fear around some of his tools being so utterly broken, right?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of Are you telling me the FGC engages in some hyperbole every now and again, Six?
I don't want to make claims out of school, but I'm starting to think that might be the case.
Well, more research is needed, much like there was more research needed for JP. I remember at one point, I think, someone was like, oh, you should only play JP in training mode because there's an aura on his air fireball that tells you whether or not it's going to be a teleport or a fireball, and it's the only way to fight this character. And it's nah, it's just, he's a zoner, Yeah. It's annoying to fight, but there are options to fight this character.
And I understand, I think, maybe there's a degree to which it still needs to shake out. I understand the reaction to okay, this is a character with projectiles that he can do high and low off of his projectiles and a command grab. That is pretty scary, right?
Right.
His close-up options are not good, right? They're not completely terrible, right? He doesn't instantly die, but he doesn't have great options up close. And also his fireballs are pretty slow.
Yeah, and especially when that full screen command grab or whatever, it's so he summons this psycho demon thing, and it takes a different shape whether or not it's going to be an attack or a command grab. And at that point, if you're at full screen, they have different shapes. It still requires you to learn what those shapes are, certainly, but I don't know. I have found in my matches against JPs online, I'm okay, I'm at full screen. They're probably going to go for the command grab so I can safely jump over it. And I've been right.
And what's the punishment for being wrong, right? This isn't Guile, right? He's not throwing the sonic boom so you jump over it and he can flash kick you. JP don't have that move. If it's a normal fireball, if you guessed wrong and it's a fireball, you still just jump over it.
And he has that counter, but like again, like any like counters in like any fighting game, it does require you to have the read. But like I don't know, like do an empty jump every now and again. Wait, see if the counter animation comes out because it's way easy to punish.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not saying the character is free, but I think it's one of those things where he has a lot of tools, a lot of not Street Fighter like tools.
Yeah.
I think. This is another character that reminds me of Street Fighter EX, along with Menon. Like JP just feels right out of that game because not just in his animation style and like look of the character, but also just the way he plays is very different from like he's closer to like a King of Fighters character in some regards.
Yeah, that's definitely what I was gonna say. He reminds me especially of like some of the characters they've added since 2000, right? He'd be like, oh, this is another like clone of K-Dash, right?
Exactly. And I don't know. I think it's one of those things where it requires a little bit of practice.
Mm-hmm.
Not impossible, but like I don't know. I saw that chart a little while ago. Capcom, after the first, like the game's been out about a month, and it did show off like the top 5 picks for each rank, and I don't think JP was in any of them. Like I'm pretty sure he's still a top 10 character to be picked, but like in those higher echelon of ranked play at the very least, like you're not seeing that character picked very often.
I don't recall exactly. I do definitely recall, however, seeing that Cammy was like number 1 in the lowest tier, in the conversation, in the second high, in the middle tier, and then at the top tier, gone. Yeah. So Cammy is in an interesting place in this game, I think, because I think that does represent my experience, at least with Cammy, where it's like, I think they did a great job with Cammy. Cammy as a design, I've never fully felt like I understood what you were supposed to do besides poke.
Cammy was a character that I gravitated towards in Street Fighter V at the beginning of that game because Colleen wasn't out at that point, and I was so thoroughly disappointed in Jury. And I played her for a little bit, and I think she plays a lot closer to her 5 iteration, certainly. But it's a lot of poking, a lot of like using hooligan flip. I think that's the name of the move. To like try and mix up the opponent in neutral. I think a lot of it is though like Cammy is a very popular pick because Cammy I think is very immediately strong with like a lot of the tools that she has. Like a lot of her tools like kind of like blend together pretty seamlessly. Also, I know that the player Punk, he used her a lot in like some of the early footage and showing off like drive rush cancels and how she could just spend all her meter and get like a 40% combo. And that's kind of like something that he would just do, and he's been sticking with that character in majors and also like online tournaments that he's participated in.
Cammy players never forget Kyrie's kindness here. Never forget she was like, I think, you see the immediate appeal, and doesn't say because all of you were simping for this girl.
It is true, but I was trying to be kind. Yeah, they gave her some yoga pants. Ma'am, you are a public official.
Yeah, she is a
you are a government agent.
A government agent,
ma'am,
wearing a belly shirt and yoga pants and just like gratuitously stretching in public. Taking advantage of the fact that normal people's spines don't do that.
Like, the only other person with a spine made of rubber is, like, Monkey D. Luffy, madam.
Boy, that's what all the years of training in CQC will get you.
Yep. But yeah, she is. I don't know. She was like, I haven't touched her in Street Fighter 6 because again, I found my character very quickly. Like they made Jury good again, but um I think Cam, it was really interesting to see that chart and see how she just fell off the face of the planet once you're in the high ranked players. But who knows? Again, this stuff is still like very early on, still very like to be defined.
I did play her some, just messing around with a friend, and I think EX Cannon Spike is maybe the best feeling DP in the game.
It's really fucking good. That's the one. That's the one that side switches, right?
Uh-huh.
Or
Yeah, it side switches.
God.
So does charged heavy cannon.
Hooligan Knuckle.
No,
thing.
the why can't I Cannon Spike?
Cannon Spike.
No, Cannon.
Yeah, there it is.
God damn it! Is that no Cannon Spike is the DP?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Spiral Arrow.
yes, god damn! I was Gyro Drive Smasher. No, that's the super in fucking 4. Fucking I don't know. Her names all her move names all run together except for Hooligan. But you know.
Yeah.
My problem with
She's
Hooligan,
British.
that was bad. So I bet for good players this is not a problem. But just anecdotally, my problem playing her with Hooligan is that I just got jabbed out of it over and over. People are just like, you can't do anything if I just hit you first, and I'm like, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Scrub problems, I suppose. We have an interesting substitution here on this roster, as the spot that theoretically, I suppose, not like, oh, this was taken from him, but theoretically, the T-Hawk spot has been taken by his little sister Lily.
Mm-hmm.
Who's
Lily.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like, so Nary, like, they like mentioning T-Hawk, but like having him, he's not here in this game. Not this time. I don't know if they'll ever put him back in.
I mean, he was an interesting example of Japanese racism, I think. I can understand them. Like, it's one thing to participate in racial stereotype, often offensive. It's another to do it and be wrong about the group you're portraying, right? Because as we all know, T-Hawk is a pretty gratuitous, in the Street Fighter 2 way, where most of these characters are, is a pretty gratuitous stereotype of Native Americans, and he's not Native American, he's Mexican.
It's wild to consider, like, what they are doing. Like, his big move is Mexican Typhoon. But he has, like, the affect and, like, mannerisms associated with, like, North American native stereotypes. It's a interesting mixed bag. But Lily is here. She has 2 big clubs and uses the spirit of the winds to, like, let her do her thing. I don't know. She's cute. I just don't play her.
Yeah, I played her a little. I think my impression as a person, I mostly played T-Hawk in Street Fighter 4 to make my friend Nicholas angry. Because he was bad at dealing with Condor Dive and grapplers, right? Therefore,
because you would in Street Fighter 4, it was just like Condor Dive, EX, Condor Dive. Was usually the pattern.
And I think Lily is interesting because at least, like, I think her toolkit leans less grappler than T-Hawk's did. I think her command grab is not as good as T-Hawk's was. And so she's relying more on the other stuff. She has, like, the wind stalks to make her moves better. I felt like they didn't end up, like, in both in the play I did and in the play I've seen, which is admittedly not a whole lot, but they weren't factoring into the game very much. It feels like a way to punish characters who don't have a projectile for like loitering, but otherwise you don't use them that much.
Right.
I don't know. She seemed like a more like hit based, like neutral focused T-Hawk in a way that seemed interesting enough. And I do think that, like, thematically, aesthetically, it's like, yes, good. This young girl reads as Mexican, and yet you have tied in a little bit of the spiritualism in a way that is plausible. Good job.
Yeah. Not as deeply offensive as you know, like T-Hawk tends to be depicted as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know. She is interesting. I do like her. Some of her command grapples are pretty cool, like animation wise. The way she like swings around the neck of the opponent and slams him into the ground is like pretty visceral in a way that is not uncommon in Street Fighter. But you don't get like some characters' moves are pretty brutal sometimes. I don't know if we mentioned it last episode, but I remember like Jamie's level 3, if it's in critical art, is this like throat tear move that's like pretty intense.
The other, though, there you do have the other side of it though, which is the famous Zangief level 3, where if you watch closely, he does the wrestling thing of covering your neck so that you're gonna land good and don't hurt your spine.
Geef is just a good guy in that regard. He has safety in mind. I remember one of his moves, he like intentionally like claps his leg to make the sound of the impact like more dramatic, which is a thing Japanese wrestlers do all the time that someone pointed out on Twitter, and I think the animator that worked on Zangief was like, good job, you noticed. Like, I was intentional with this one. Which is like just a good detail that they've turned Geef into much more of a like showman wrestler over the years. It's a good touch.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of wrestling, one Edmund Honda.
It's interesting what they've done with him here. Right? I do think, again, they have leaned in on the showmanship side, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like, that is evident in probably, he has one of the coolest level 3s in the game. Like, just in like, that and his win animation are, like, really spectacular. His level 3 is that he swings the opponent around, uses their feet to, like, ignite a ring of flame, and then just slams them into the ground as, like, his big finisher. And when he wins, what is he doing? He's, like, palm slamming a bunch of, like, papers, because that's a thing, like, is that a thing sumo wrestlers do to, like, sign stuff? Because it's, like,
too ignorant of sumo, I'm afraid.
Me too, but like it seems like he's basically doling out autographs and then just doing an Inoki chin thing and just like sticking it out and just posing for the camera.
I have Googled this and found a bunch of sumo wrestler handprints with signatures.
There you go.
Yeah, that's super. Like he creates the ring and he does very classic sumo. Like he pushes them to the edge and then he does a reversal, right? And I think you've got the like him doing the quick little pose to power up his 100-hand slap. Classically, besides the hand slap, he's not actually felt like, I don't know, he says like sumo headbutt when he does this headbutt, but it's kind of like someone saying baseball cannon and shooting you with a gun. It's like the connection between these things is very loose, my man.
Well, don't you know all sumo wrestlers can jump like 25 feet in the air and slam with the butt? Don't you know? I mean, this is like a thing.
You know, that's a very fair point. I didn't think about that. I also like his level 1 super where he just does the big sumo shove, right? Just to try and get you out of the ring, as it were. But it's, wall splats, of course. Yeah, I think they have done a very impressive job with him of like making this character that had this visual only theme that didn't tie into his moves, work it back in, and still feel very faithful to the character, right?
Yeah. And also another thing that they've done, like in the story mode, I'm just remembering, like, so you can get text messages from the characters, and we'll talk about it when we talk about story mode stuff. But when you talk to E Honda, he finds like a sticker of a sumo wrestler, sends it to you, goes, "This is pretty cool, huh?" And you say yes, and then he sends it again. Like, that's just a funny detail. Like, they have turned him into like a big showman and a big dweeb at the same time.
Mhm.
It's impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of big dweebs, Kimberly's a fucking dork.
She is such a fucking dork. I love her. Like, I think she is like a really good aesthetically designed character. I think she is, again, a huge dork who her big game plan is turning on her Walkman so that she can listen to her own music. Um, and it is like she's like just a big ball of energy and is pretty cool. I think like she like of the new characters, I think like just purely from a design standpoint, she is one of the best.
It's hard for me to know, like,
Mm-hmm.
how she actually is supposed to play, because every Kimberly I've ever fought, and I'm sorry, including your girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like they're in their own world. They're like, I'm gonna hit buttons, and you punish them for a button, and it's like they didn't even notice.
They're like, "Oh, cool, you're still here. Okay, ex Tatsu."
It's just like,
Um,
ma'am, calm down. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. It never feels like we're having a conversation here.
she got her damn earbuds in. She ain't hear a thing.
Your thing.
Um, it is fun. I do like. I think her like her game plan of getting to level 3 and then just getting into this permanent install state is interesting. She's like one of the few characters. I think she's the only character with like a level 3 install.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but she also has like she uses spray cans as well to augment her like because basically she has the same moves as Guy from 4 and a little bit of Zeku in from 5
Also,
and
some Maki, another Bishinori
yeah,
user.
loved Maki. Wish they'd bring her back. I played her a bunch in like Alpha 3 Max. She was fun.
I think Kimberly's the closest you're gonna get, but I hear you.
You're right. I don't want to acknowledge that you're right, but Capcom, please. No, Kimberly is fun. She is just like, and she's fun to fight against as well. But you're right. Sometimes it is just sort of like she's just out here doing her own thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I need to see some higher level Kimberly play, which I haven't yet. Because as I said, like it's hard for me to get a sense of the character when I feel like it can. The term gimmick can be used in a couple of ways, and one of them is very derisive, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
and I don't necessarily mean that here, but I mean like the quirks of Kimberly's kit are such that you can kind of just get wrapped up in your own world and not reacting to the other fighter for a while, and even up through silver, which I haven't played ranked in a while, but silver is where I left off. I was still fighting Kimberlys that were like, it's not that you're bad, but it's that you don't acknowledge that there's a matchup going on. So
So
the
I think
go ahead.
that leaves us with 2.
It does. It does. I think I want to end on a positive note. And so I will say that to me, what they've done with Chun-Li is fine, but not particularly inspiring.
No, she's basically the same as her Street Fighter 5 like rendition.
Mm-hmm.
Like I look at Chun-Li and I think like I see all these changes that they made to like all these other characters. Like all the interesting moves they give her like given to all these other characters, even Ryu, got 2 new moves. And I'm just looking at Chun-Li, it's like, well, she plays like Chun-Li, who plays like 5, which was fairly similar to the way she played in 4.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's because they think they have like nailed the way she should play, and sure, you can think that, but it's like, I don't know, maybe there is something else to this character, but I just don't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I have also found myself just a little like, I guess she has the new stance move, right? And I haven't seen people making a whole lot of use of that. I obviously myself
Mm-hmm.
haven't gotten like, I haven't played enough of her in this to have a strong impression there, but mostly it's just like, okay, yeah, she has the great walk speed. She pokes, she
She
anti-airs.
slides.
Yeah.
Yep. She does Kokosho.
Uh-huh. Kakosho is still one of the all-time great supers. What a great one.
That's a good one. Yeah.
But yeah, I just I'm not sure I know what we're doing with this character, and I would like to, I don't know, maybe I just, it is, again, it's possible I need to see higher level play. It's also possible that I think they need to buff her stance, her 214p Serenity Stream, and just make it
Mm-hmm.
more of a prominent part of her game plan to make her feel different to me.
Right.
But also, I don't know, like, Chun-Li is a classic design that I've always not particularly enjoyed myself, but had respect for. Do we need to change it, I guess? Am I just, messing with things for no reason? So,
I don't know. Maybe Capcom just like they are just thinking, well, we figured it out with like her 4 and third strike iterations. We don't really need to innovate here.
yeah.
But I don't know. Again, if they could give Ryu new moves and make him feel like really interesting, maybe they can do more with Chun-Li.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
Her new costume's all right though.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. They finally incorporated the little girl she rescues in 3 to like in World Tour mode. She is like a blogger or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, that's a cute touch.
This brings us to our last member of the roster, Dalsim, who I think in 5 they did some very strange things with.
Mm-hmm.
And they have now fused 4 and 5 together so he can kind of do all of both versions of the character, and it's just wild.
He is kind of like, he's wilding out with some of his moves. I love his level 3 where he does like 2 One Piece references in this podcast at once. He's basically got the Gumu Gumu no he like fucking machine gun like punch that Luffy does.
Mm-hmm.
It's really energetic. He also like in 5 his whole thing was setting up the flame carpet and then doing the big floaty fireball. But now they have made them like they took away his flame carpet, but like they've given him some other tools to like mitigate that, like a slow moving bouncing fireball that can like he is, absolutely a zoner, but they kept in his midair teleport, which makes him very mobile.
And they made it really easy to do now, because it's just all 3 punches or all 3 kicks.
Mm-hmm.
No DP motion required anymore. What they gave him, one of the things they gave him in 5 was they changed his fireball to have like a strange trajectory. Now he has his normal fireball, and he has his arc trajectory fireball, and they give him an air fireball, and he's got Yoga Flame, which is the big like sweeping breathe fire, and he's got Yoga Blast. They just gave him a ton of special moves just to use his fire in a whole bunch of different ways that I think has turned out really fascinating.
He also like inflates his belly to be huge when he does his drive impact, and it's like they're really leaning into the absurdity of Dalsim as a character, of the stretchy limbs and the fire and his ability to like take in tons of air and expand his chest. It's like he is a rubber man. He is I'm still like I haven't encountered him much online, but I do want to fight more Dalsims, because like it has always been like a weaker part of my like play to fight that type of character, because he's a pure zoner, but he has some stuff that like in close range that is hard to deal with sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean this to suggest he's a dishonest character. I don't think that's true. But Dhalsim has, and I think even more so in 6, but has always been a character who is a bit of a knowledge check of like, hey, this matchup is not going to play like your other matchups. Do you know what to do?
Exactly. And if you don't know what to do, you're going to feel like, oh, Dhalsim just has the answer to every problem. But, like, and in some ways with all the specials, he does have a lot of answers, but, like, there's also some blind spots in his kit that can be exploited. It's just a matter of, like, do you have the knowledge to exploit those parts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like his cheapest reversal option is a level 2 super, you know? And if he jumps, he's in the air forever, right? You know, he has weaknesses, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think they've done a really fantastic job with him in 6, and I think it's really exciting because I liked the stuff they were going for in 5, but I ultimately felt it made the character feel too weird. And I like the fusion of 4 and 5 to make a character who has some weird tools, but isn't like without an answer if you throw a Hadouken at him.
Right. I wonder if he can still uppercut his, like, fierce punch.
Yes,
like,
you can.
Fantastic. I always love doing that, like, in 4, like, playing against Dhalsim with Ryu.
If your timing is good, you can also Gladius it.
Fantastic.
I also want to shout out, it is great that they got rid of Yoga Tower from 4. That move was toxic. Do you remember Yoga Tower?
Goodness. Which one is that again?
Yoga Tower is the one where he's like yoga and stretches real weird and dodges all fireballs, and basically that was the entire matchup versus anyone with a projectile was him doing Yoga Tower over and over until he got a fierce punch on you.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now I remember. Yeah.
I'm glad it's
Thank
gone.
God.
So.
Yep.
Don't think it was in 5 either, but, 5 was such a different character. I'm glad that, when bringing the 4 concept back in, they're like, but this one can probably go.
This could go. Just give him a cooler parry animation. Like, his perfect parry animation is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But that is it for the cast for the time being. Obviously, we have Rashid coming up in just a little over a week here. And I hope you're ready to learn Rashid really fast, because he's going to be Evo legal.
On God, why is he legal? This is, like, I don't think it's going to be, like, I mean, we're going to see how it shakes out. I don't think it'll be one of those things where he'll be, like, critical to, like, winning a major, but I think there's going to be a number of upsets with Rashid. Just because, like, yeah, he's just going to be so new, you know? Like, usually, this is why, like, whenever there's a character that's announced, like, most of the time if there's a tournament within a month, they're like, okay, no, this character is banned for reasons of just it doesn't give the community long enough time to, like, really learn what the character can do. And in this case, the community is going to have, like, what, 2.5 weeks?
Yeah.
Something like that, which it's not a lot of time. It's not an impossible amount of time to learn something about a character, but still a very short amount of time.
There's definitely going to be some cramming necessary. I think the nightmare scenario, I mean, like, I think 2.5 weeks is enough time that you're not going to have, like, you're probably not going to have people being like, oh, someone discovered this one setup, and if we had more time to lab, we'd beat it. But as it is going to win Evo. I don't think that'll happen. But, like, we both were pretty into Dragon Ball FighterZ, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine if GT Goku had launched 2.5 weeks before Evo. Every team in top 8 would have a GT Goku on it, right?
Oh, yeah. Like, absolutely.
If it turns out Rashid is overtuned, there's not enough time to course correct, and he's going to win Evo. And I just think it's more than, like, well, I guess about the same level as me being like, I wish the community had more time to lab him and discover his strengths and weaknesses. I really don't know about a team having this much confidence in their balance for launch.
Yeah, like I mean, it's maybe easier to balance them rather than like a team game in which like, oh, this like one character can have so many different combinations and permutations that someone could find like an unwinnable, like an unbeatable combination.
Hmm.
It's like it's a one-on-one fighter, so there's probably going to be some like weaknesses in Rashid's toolkit that the top player base is going to be able to figure out, but like it just doesn't feel good. Like if I feel like it's a bad decision. It's like I don't know. Like if you really want to like do a thing where you show off the new character, maybe do an exhibition match or something. But at this point, it's like because to a certain degree, there's supposed to be a certain amount of competitive integrity with
Hmm.
evolution, and I think the people that were going to win are going to win this tournament, but it's a pool of 7,000, right? Which is wild to think about, by the way. Like they released the numbers of registrants. I think it's like 7,160 some odd players
I think that's
have
correct. Yeah.
something like that. Good lord, they're gonna have to start pools at like fucking 8
Monday.
a.m. for Monday. Yeah.
Yeah. I do agree with you. It is a thing that so I spent a lot of time, in competitive Dota 2, and one thing they would do, they never made as much use of this as they could because it was Valve and they're always like a disaster when it comes to development, right?
Uh-huh.
But they would do stuff where it's like, okay, and right before the grand final, we're going to have the all-star game, right? Or whatever. And like we're going to have certain people who we picked who are going to be part of this. So you could be like, you don't have to worry about, you can have both your winner and your loser take a break, which I think is good because very often you get the reverse sweeps just because the loser has been playing more recently and is hot, right?
Right.
Make it a little more fair. Put everybody on ice for a second. As what happens is we have like, okay, and here is Daigo versus Justin, who probably neither of them will be in the grand finals, right? And they're going to fight, like a Rashid mirror match or Rashid versus this other character who's not ready but should be ready enough for this or something, right?
Exactly. Or here's this like exhibition match between two people that like really like the character or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like because Rashid is a cool character. Like I think like when they introduced him for 5, it was like he was probably one of the most interesting characters in Street Fighter 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that he's back and he looks like a lot of fun. I just worry about like I worry about like him like the character does not need to be saddled in some ways with this burden of like, oh, he's legal at Evo and he's gonna be the noob killer, right?
Yeah.
Like because I'm imagining this scenario that like out of the pools of evolution you'll find out that like basically a bunch of pools are dominated by like modern controls Rashid because it's just no one is ready for this character.
Yeah. Yeah. It is worrying, but I guess we'll see how it shakes out. And I understand, and we both understand, sort of PR wise why you would want to do this, but just it's a dangerous sacrifice from a game that so far has done a lot of things right in this sort of term. You mentioned before the story mode, the world tour. There are a bunch of modes in this game. I think like most fighting games you get like these days you get versus and online, you get arcade mode and you get story mode, and all of those are represented here. But there are also some other modes besides. We're obviously going to have the most to say about world tour, so I want to knock out a few of the other things first. The battle hub, the arcade cabinets are a cool idea. So there are both. It is the thing that is very popular these days of like you load into a lobby and you have a 3D avatar. You run up and pick fights on arcade cabinets. Given that there's also a custom room option, I think that's fine, right?
Right. Like Arxis has been doing this for a number of years. Where this started with Exard, where you would load into a little room, an instanced room for private rooms, or you go to a server and it's a bunch of virtual arcade cabinets that you go up and you challenge people. And this has been the trend. And I don't know, I like that trend, but the private room is a welcome addition.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, I do understand why some people are annoyed by the like cabinet standing around thing, because it is just adding a layer of like artifice to it, because really, you just got people and they want to pick fights, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think there is atmosphere and expressivity added by the way they do this that I do think is additive, despite the extra layer of involvement. I think it's generally a good thing, since you have the option to skip it.
Yeah, like, it's a fun thing to engage with when you want to engage with. And then there's also the fact that you can customize an avatar, and like, we'll go into it in World Tour mode, but also you can just make this a 3D representation of yourself and go around and pick fights, and even pick fights with the avatar, which is like a goofy, pointless like thing that didn't need to be in there, but I think it is an overall good thing to have in there, because it could be a really fun side activity, like, while you're waiting for fights.
The thing is, it's pointless the way they've done it. They've done such a bad job of it, because it is just taking in your character from the World Tour mode, including your stats and scaling. And so you can't actually fight people, right? Like, sure, you can match with someone and discover that they've played more hours of the story mode and you're level 30 and you're level 70, and it doesn't fucking matter what you do, you're going to lose.
Right. And also, like, another thing that's annoying about the hub is that they have these arcade cabinets with, like, classic Capcom, like, games, like shooters, beat 'em ups, fighting games, or whatever. Do you know what's classic about an arcade cabinet? It's that you could start playing and someone could drop a quarter in and play with you, right? But they don't have that here. You can't, which is like, it's stupid, because it's like, Final Fight is way more fun when you have a friend.
Yeah. I think it is. They have fun ideas here, but they have not taken the time to execute them properly. And I understand that the game had a lot going on, and there was a lot they had to work out in time for launch. Street Fighter V, as we know, launched as a fucking garbage fire, and so, like,
absolutely,
they wanted to focus on making sure they shipped a game that was functional in that way. But I hope they take time to loop back. I hope they add some, like, optional level scaling features for avatar battles, and I hope they allow you to quarter up for arcade games.
Yeah, because it's like, in any argument that you could say about, like, oh, if you want to play Third Strike, there is, like, another way to play Third Strike online. It's like, okay, yeah, cool, but what if I just want to play it while I'm in the video game already?
Or just like
or cycle it out. Who knows? Just make it something you can't own. Who cares?
If a feature is here, do it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, let people just play it with their friends. Please.
Yeah.
But if you just want to play with friends, there is, like, the normal online stuff. Private rooms we mentioned. And then ranked and casual matchmaking for, when you want to do that.
Seeing as we can't take it for granted, I really appreciate the two decisions they made with ranked. One, to have calibration. And two, to give your characters individual ranking.
Yes, because there's nothing more frustrating than, like, ranked is an interesting game mode to have. I think but it needs to be acknowledged as a game mode, right? So, like, one of the big problems, and this was definitely a problem in Street Fighter V, so they could have easily replicated this issue, is that when you played in Street Fighter V, you just had an account rank, and that was it. It was your account rank could go up and down, and so it didn't matter if you were, like, a Diamond Ryu or whatever. Like, if you played as Ken and lost a bunch, well, there goes all your ranking points, which is frustrating. So now they have it, like, calibrated they have it in such a way that you have to do like placement matches for each character before they give you a rank. And that's like, it's more low stress, because at that point it's like, well, okay, my play as Jamie is not going to affect my play as Jury, or like my ranking, as it were. So it's been nice. And also I think the rank mode here is really interesting. They have it so that it is harder to derank. Like they give you like a game of like leeway before you get knocked down, because I think I was like gold 2 and I was knocked down to 1 while I lost a few games in a row, but I didn't feel like I felt like, okay, yeah, that was on me. I lost a bunch of games, right? And then I could earn it right back.
Yeah, I think there's definitely. Oh, I'm gold, not silver. Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, you hit gold. I don't.
Listen, it's been almost 3 weeks. No, it has been 3 weeks. I should play Street Fighter.
Yeah, we should just do that.
But it's been so busy.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, I don't remember what I was saying. I mean, yeah, I have messed with like Guile some in ranked, right? And I've had a lot of fun with that. And just, I would never have done that otherwise, because I got up to gold with Marissa, and I wouldn't want to throw that away by trying someone else and getting like having bad matches and then, you know, losing rank for it. So
exactly. Now it's like, okay, I can, like, it's the thing that Tekken does. I don't know if they do the other thing that Tekken 7 does, which is if you have a character hit a particular rank, all your other characters get ranked up immediately. To like say like, no, like you are at this certain level of the game, we can expect you to be at a, like, to give you a decent fight at this rank, you know?
Right. Like you have spent, you know, 300 hours grinding your Ryu. You have certain fundamentals that are going to translate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're going to put, you know, all your characters at like bronze 2 or something like that.
I thought you were going to say, I don't know if it does the Tekken 6 thing or Tekken 7 thing of taking 10,000 years to load a match, but
well, thank God for SSDs.
Thank God.
The fucking load times in Street Fighter 6 are so low.
We should tell Tekken 7 about those, because I have one and it hasn't made a difference.
Oh, man.
Yeah, another quick, like, there's the team battle mode, which I haven't had a chance to mess with, but I like supporting team battles, which, you know, like multiple players, you know, like on a lineup against each other. Having system level support for that is good.
Mm-hmm.
I did some of the extreme battles with my nephew.
Yeah,
and had a good time.
Yeah, the extreme battles are like a cute touch, because it's like they have thrown in a bunch of things like, was it, you can bounce around a meteor, you fight with like a bull charging the screen every now and again. Mm-hmm. It's just goofy, and it does answer the, like, one of the things that, like, for example, Smash Brothers has done well for years is the fact that, like, you just have a mode in which everyone at every skill level can enjoy it, where it's just like, I don't know, it's all like, you know, random cockamamie like things going on at the same time. So it's not really about a reflection of one's skill. It's about having a good time. And it seems like they've dialed into that for the first time, like, frankly, ever.
Yeah. And I also think, like, there is a mode called rules and regulations in that, which all the other ones are like fun party modes. That one is too, but it is not for people who don't play Street Fighter. I think that was interesting. It's for people who do, because basically what happens is, instead of having a life bar, in order to win it, you get a checklist of objectives that is slightly randomized every time. It will be stuff like get 3 hard knockdowns, land, you know, 4 drive parries or whatever. And it is an interesting, like, party mode for people who already like Street Fighter to sort of like explore playing it differently, that I thought was neat. With a player who doesn't play Street Fighter, though, they're just like, I don't know how to do any of this. And you're like, yeah, sorry, nephew. I apologize.
Come back in 100 years, kid.
Well, the other thing is my nephew did manage to win a few games because another feature I wanted to mention, just since it's sort of related, the handicapping system is so good in this.
Tell me about the handicapping system, because I have never thought of like any fighting game really having a handle of how a handicap system should work.
So the handicap system, you have multiple levels you can set, but the way it works here, I'm not going to get the scale done exactly because it's been, a while since I did it, but it was like, you can set it like it scales up, obviously you have more health, the more handicap you set. That's the most classic thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can also have it so you do more damage. You can also have it so you start with more meter.
Ooh.
It's interesting the tools they give you to make it so that, like, I was playing my nephew and I still won most of the games, but they were all competitive, and my nephew won a couple because I had set him to handicap level 4 of 5, and it was like, I have to essentially win 2 games to win a game. And it felt, he was playing it and he was just like, yeah, I'm winning this fight. And it's like, yes, this is a smooth enough experience. It feels good. It feels like a proper handicap for the amount of time I've spent with fighting games, and this game in particular.
That's great, because like the only other time I can ever truly remember messing with like handicap in a fighting game was like playing Street Fighter 4 at a party one time, where it's just like the only lever they gave you was health. And I remember setting my handicap to maximum because it was like, or like the opponents, right? Because it was like, well, I am just like the fighting game person here, and it just set it so that I was one touch away from like literally they gave me 1 HP. And it's like, okay, that's not like a great way to handle this sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, no, the handicap stuff is a lot smarter here. I think there's still room to to do more stuff, right? I think you could do, like, for example, like, I think it's called like Last Chance in Kingdom Hearts, right? Or Second Chance. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I do.
It is a thing that says basically if someone hits you with a combo and you are not already at 1 HP, it cannot kill you. It can only leave you at 1 HP, right?
Oh, okay.
Something like that could be really neat, right? Where people always, it's like, okay, if you get hit with a 40% combo and you're at 40% HP, you will always have a magic pixel to try and make a comeback. That could be a fun handicap thing. I think
Sure.
By opening it up to being more than just like moving percentages, I think there's some real potential.
Yeah. I'm glad that like the system worked really well for your purposes, and I'm glad that they put some consideration as to like so much of this game just feels like, oh, they actually sat down and like thought about it for once.
Yeah. Including World Tour, which is a mode that I think is... God, I gotta put on my IGN hat and say this is a real mixed bag, folks.
Oh boy. So what do you like about World Tour? Because there's stuff that I like about it because it's like, I think it's like a goofy, fun thing, but not particularly. Some of the stuff isn't super well considered, but it doesn't really matter because it's a single player thing. But go ahead.
I think there is some. I think like the tone of it is generally pretty fun. You are running around learning, Street Fighter moves from all the different, characters in the game. You can add them to your move list and build your own move list in a way that's fun. And like some of the writing is pretty good and goofy. I also think there's some surprisingly good like learning tools in it, right? It starts off pretty basic, and I think a lot of people will accuse it of teaching you bad habits, but I don't think any more so than other single player fighting games will. And I think there's actually stuff like there is a mini game you do for like chopping bottles, like glass bottles, with your hand, that has a bar that teaches you the timing for charge moves. By playing that a bunch, you will internalize the timing needed to do a sonic boom just right.
Oh yeah, I love that. I think there's a similar one where it's a ring of sushi platter or something like that, and it teaches you how to do motion inputs. Yeah.
Or like there's one where it's a bunch of characters like holding up like target boards you have to hit, and it is teaching you how to hit specific spots on the screen, right? Like there's like, oh, this is the crouch one, this is like the jump fierce one. And there are also enemies that do that, right? Like there are the little Roombas that are like, hey, learn to block low, idiot. There are the drones that are like, hey, learn to do air to airs, idiot.
This game is very intensive when the little drones are calling you idiot, I guess.
I don't think they intended to be that hostile, but when failing means eating a missile to the face, it does kind of feel that way.
A little bit.
Or getting swept by a Roomba.
Those things are tiny.
Yeah. Sometimes I think the messaging could be better, right? Like I had to Google how to beat the fridges, which it's very funny. You have to fight a smart fridge, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't take damage. And it's like, what am I supposed to do here? I hit them and they flash orange with super armor and don't take any damage. Turns out you have to hit them when the fridge door is open, which is when they're doing an attack. And it's like, it's trying to teach you to do, counter hits. And that's fine.
They
should have told me that.
Should have told you that. Yeah, like I think that there are other ways in which the game can teach you about counter hits. I think there's like the flash, like the NPCs flash like a certain color when you hit them with a counter hit. That can also teach it just as effectively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's unbelievably grindy.
It kind of is. Like I fell off it at a certain point because it's like, okay, you want to beat this character, it's like, well, just go in, grind and fight a bunch of NPCs, which is like, at first it's kind of charming that you can just literally challenge anybody to a fight. I think that can be that can be a lot of fun. But at a certain point, it's like you're getting so little experience and it's like, okay, I would like to just move on to the next part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I remember watching a friend play like a later part of the world tour where at one point, like you have to meet certain characters at certain times of day, and that's not inherently frustrating, but what is frustrating is at one point she was trying to run around Metro City and they had changed the location of a bunch of police barricades and navigating the city was a nightmare.
Yes.
I was like, just let me go to the place I'm trying to go, please.
I also think this is a thing they have adjusted somewhat, especially the particular issue I'm about to mention, but there's enemy spawn rate of aggressive enemies can be too high. There was a point where I got trapped on a basketball court because every time I won a fight, I loaded back in and there were just 10 enemies standing there and I couldn't leave.
That's unfortunate.
I eventually managed to quickly pause and fast travel to get out of there. But before that, I was even they just would jump me instantly. Over and over and over again. I think I fought 50 guys. And it wasn't even hard, right? It's just just let me go. I'm level 40. Leave me alone. Why aren't you at least scared of me or something?
Yeah, they could have done the thing where it's once you hit a certain level, punks at level 10, 15 or whatever, or at least 20 levels below you just cower, right? Because that's a good feeling in an open world game that has leveling of some kind, is they take one look at you and go, oh fuck that, and just run. That is a satisfying bit of progression that more games I think should do.
And I think they've made some adjustments. I know that's a skill you can get, is to make them cower, right? But I think they have also made some adjustments to spawn rate and aggressiveness. I haven't read the patch notes, but I have just observed over the time of me playing that they would do a patch and suddenly people would be less obnoxious. It's okay, I think they're addressing the problem, but the fundamental grind is the grind,
Exactly.
And I think that also bleeds into some of the problems with they lock a lot of costumes behind that grind for versus mode.
Mm-hmm.
In a way that's pretty obnoxious.
Yeah, because it's in order to get the secondary costume, you could either A, pay the premium currency, which I want to talk about the monetization practices of this game, because that is actually one of my big bugbears with it. But also, like, to get like the alternate costumes through the single player mode is like just a big grind in order to get it, and that's frustrating too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, why don't we talk about, like they locked a bunch of colors away, alternate color schemes. Do you get those through arcade mode? I think I have a bunch of them for Marissa, and I don't know why.
What it is like, it's either you get them through arcade mode, or you spend drive tickets, which is like, you can either spend drive tickets or fight money, and fight money is like the premium currency or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, there's also a battle pass, and they just introduced a second one for Rashid, and it's like, it's just really frustrating in comparison to like other games where it's just like a lot of, like, I saw some TOs on Twitter at one point when learning about like how they lock a lot of this shit behind like the currencies, either premium or in-game currency, where it's like, well, at tournaments, get used to like seeing color 1, color 2, because like, unless like the TO like has like a big unlock on their system, it's like they're not going to do that. They're not going to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like at least, you look at like Dragon Ball Fighters, it's like, oh, you have like 10 colors by default, and then they just keep adding different colors that you get through like the in-game gacha, sure, but you get so much in-game currency that you just mash on it for like, 5 minutes, and everybody has like 20 colors now. And it's like, I think that it just feels bad, because it's like, I think, there is something to like having a color scheme for a character that you like and being able to express that,
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they'll probably do a thing like they did with 5 and 4, where they will release costume packs, where it's like, okay, pay us like, $10, and now everybody has like a new wave of costumes. But, it's just a little frustrating to be like, if you want to have like any variety in the character color or costume choices, you either have to grind this game, for hours and hours and hours, or pay a bunch of money for a premium currency, or go on the battle pass, which only has awards for like, avatar stuff. I mean, which most people ignore.
If there's a weird silver lining to this, it's that the battle passes haven't been at all tempting to spend money on because they suck.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Like, at least, like, they have so little that you can really unlock with the battle passes. Like, it makes sense for a game like Fortnite or whatever to have a battle pass, because it's like, okay, you get like 1 million costumes, and you get 1 million like accessories to customize your character, right? But here it's like, oh, I can get an inner tube that my character can wear, or I can get a rental ticket, which I will say, the rental ticket system, like, that's brilliant, right?
Mm-hmm.
For like, oh, a new character drops and you don't know if you want to spend the money. I mean, I'm going to pick up every character regardless, because I am just that person who wants to be able to, like, when I have friends over, to be able to, like, oh yeah, just pick whatever character you want, right? Like, there's very few games that I have on Steam or PS4 or otherwise that I don't have every character, for. But for people who are just like, I don't know if I like this character or not, having a rental ticket system is good, because you basically rent the character for like 3 or 4 hours. You can't do ranked matchmaking, but you can at least go into a casual match, or go into training mode or arcade mode, and just try the character out for a few hours to see if you even like him or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's really smart, and I think that is like the one thing that I think more fighting games should have, especially with like, if you have a big ballooning roster,
Yeah, it's a good idea. I hope we get to see someone who admits in like a post grand finals interview for like an online tournament, they're like, yeah, I rented this character for the tournament.
That'd be such a flex.
pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah, the monetization practices is, I mean, like every game's monetization practice is just like shitty and bad nowadays, but it is like really one of the like big grease stains on like Street Fighter 6's shirt, you know, where it's like, guys, this was avoidable. You totally could have done something about this.
Another one is the music, the soundtrack of this game.
It just sounds like replacement music from like we couldn't have the we couldn't get the rights to the song we actually wanted, so here's the replacement track for when you streamed the game. I mean there's a handful of like, not even a handful, I can think of like maybe 2 tracks off the top of my head that I like enjoy in Street Fighter 6, but like the music is a sour spot, I think.
Yeah, it's just boring.
Like, you know, say what you will about like Street Fighter 5, right? But I think about like some of the various stage themes in that game, like the China theme, or the I think the second like Ring of Power like theme was like really good. They had a lot of really great character themes and stage themes that just like, I don't know, I think even Capcom was like, oh, here's Rashid's theme. It sounds like his stream is starting up. It's like, stream startup music is supposed to be this like low-key thing while people don't pay attention to until the streamer shows up.
Yeah.
You know? That's not like on one level, I get it, but also on another level, like Rashid's theme from 5 is so hype. Like, it's very hard to beat.
And I think it's also like kind of striking because you and I don't have the same taste in fighting game music, right? Like you're a big proponent of the Guilty Gear Strive soundtrack, which I largely dislike. I tend to go for, you know, more just like instrumental stuff, but I still want it to have energy and get me excited. And despite us having 2 different, you know, like tastes in this, we can both agree on this ain't it.
This ain't it. It's like they don't even do like, I think about like Tekken 7's soundtrack, which has very little connection to like the stage or characters, but it doesn't matter because it's some of the like best music you've ever heard in your entire life. Like just like blaring through it. Like it's supposed to get you like, my thinking with fighting game music is that it is supposed to be like, you know, it's supposed to be exciting in a way that gets your like heart pumping, you know? And I just don't think Street Fighter 6 has it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
What fighting game to you has like the best soundtrack, out of curiosity?
I'm Blaze Blue.
That's
the Blaze Blue soundtrack is fucking killer.
I think I because of being on the opposite end of that, I think like Guilty Gear X2's soundtrack is like phenomenal. Ordinary Life is a very good track. But yeah, I think that is one of the few things that like Street Fighter 5 kind of got right, was like how exciting and dynamic the stage and character themes could get. And 6, which is weird because like they don't even lean into the like hip hop influences that the game is going for, you know?
Yeah,
like
the
for each
themes,
of the
yeah,
like you would think they would try and lean into that a little bit, but it just feels so like bland. I do like Jamie's theme though. Jamie's theme is pretty fun. Kimberly's theme is all right. And there's like one stage that has like an all right theme, and that's like the not the Coliseum stage, but the one where like it's like this high rise, like it's a I can't describe it very well off the top of my head. It's like it's a white platform, like white elevated platform with like banners everywhere.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I do, however, want to give a special shout down to this game's like menu and title screen hip hop, which is just like family friendly hope punk hip hop, and it's just fucking cringe, my guys. And not like cringe I'm standing in my truth. It's like cringe like you tried to make like sugar-free orange juice. What the fuck are we doing?
They didn't even have like, they really are like, they need to embrace like the days in which they licensed, like they had that song Indestructible from Street Fighter 4.
Yeah.
Indestructible is such a good song because it is so like, it is cringe but like parenthetical good, you know?
It is cringe because it is embracing like a certain cheesy mentality with its whole heart. This is cringe because you're fucking like rhyming enemy with better me, and I just go away.
God, did you ever see that clip? Like, I think at one of the Capcom Pro Tours, I think one of the last ones for 5 before the pandemic, what happened was, like, they were doing some technical stuff, like, beforehand, and they were playing music for the crowd, and at one point they started playing Indestructible, and the entire crowd started singing along at the same time.
Hell yeah.
Like, they have never topped that. Or the fact that like the Street Fighter 5 Champion Edition like trailer, like that big glitzy CG trailer with all the new characters they had synced perfectly with Indestructible. It's like, I'm just saying, you could get an easy win and just bring it back, guys.
It's a thing that like I think it's easy to underrate, but like there is something like having elements to bring hype in for spectator experiences, right? Like having that, like, you know, Indestructible, yeah, a great example there of just like a hype anthem that everybody gets behind. Like, or you look at, I mean, there are classic examples like Street Fighter 3, right? Third Strike. This is a weird example, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you would see people doing the, like, you know, alpha combos, right? They would do the super that gives them, like, you know, like Genajin, for example, and you get the crowd doing the A along with the rhythmic combo, or you get the Cell yell in Dragon Ball Fighters.
Mm-hmm.
I think, honestly, if you want to be at the top of the fighting game pro scene, this is an element you need and this game doesn't have. You need an element that is, like, fun for spectators.
I remember at MagFest 2020, where we had in the arcade pit at one point, we had, it was either 2020 or 2019, doesn't really matter, where there was a Street Fighter the movie, the game, Real Battle on Film tournament, and the prize was a giant print of the M. Bison painting from that movie. And I just remember how that game, as goofy as it was, like everybody getting hype with like you said, with the rhythmic hey during like a combo someone figured out where they just juggled a dude for like 3 or 4 reps. And I think that like, yeah, like hype is like such a like hard thing to quantify, but it's just about like, does your game look and sound exciting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, everybody remembers Moment 37. Trust me, Capcom remembers that, you know.
I mean,
where it's just
it's in this game too. They have made sure to give Chun-Li that same super, so you can do it.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, that sound effect in 3, when you do the parry, is like sonically the loudest thing that game has. Like, the idea is that it's supposed to be like when someone pulls off a parry in Third Strike, everyone in the arcade knows exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I will be very interested to watch like Evolution this year, because it will be interesting to see like how much does Street Fighter 6 have this element. Like, we had our first major, we had CEO. And I think that, you know, that already has like an element of hype, and that's just because CEO like leans into like the wrestling element of like, you know, there's a bit of an overlap between like pro wrestling and fighting games to a certain degree. and how it leads into that. But I want to see like what elements of the game lead to those moments of just pure excitement. Like they kind of took a page from like Strive's book of like the big slowdown when you get a perfect parry in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty good, but we'll have to see.
I could see Cell Yell style if Ken is good enough in this. If we see a lot of Ken, I could see the cloud. Whew, I could see the crowd roaring, "Sit down and shut up."
Oh,
I could see it happening.
That could be pretty good. Or like when that critical art like kicks off, that's yeah. But I think overall, like, God, like this game is doing a lot of things right, and gosh, we didn't even mention like the stuff in the training mode. Like the training mode is actually really fucking good this time around, which is like not weird to say, but like remarkable to say, I think.
Yeah, you've got good tutorials with like written funnily in character voice, but like it's like them demonstrating things that any time you can press the touchpad, at least on, sorry, that's PlayStation talking, but you can press a button to switch over to like testing it yourself. And they explain game plan, which very often fighting games are like, this is the move. And you're like, okay, what's it for? And they're like, this is the next move. And you're like, no, wait.
Whereas in this game, like, oh, in the jungle, we use crouching medium punch, which is like so goofy. Yeah, each character like having like a distinct voice and written in a distinct style, like that's good. That's like, love these touches. I love that, like, I love the way they like characterize Jury as just like a deeply unpleasant person to be around, but also she just very clearly wants a friend. Like
that's again, it ties into the texting, right? Because texting you, she just like harasses you nonstop and is just kind of a bitch to you, but then like gets sad if you ignore her. It's very cute.
It's very funny. It's like you'll be like, "Hey, Jury, want to go out to ice cream?" She'll go fuck yourself in your ice cream, and then you'll say, "Okay, fine, bitch." And then she just has ice cream by herself, and she's just sad about it. Or again, E Honda, like I said, just like sending line stickers to you. Like they kind of captured like one of my favorite like panels from like the Street Fighter comics, in which Ryu is at like an internet cafe trying to figure out how to use like IM messaging, sending a message to Sakura. Like it's a like, there's a lot of just fun, cute moments that can be had with the characters, and I'm glad that they're embracing that in some way.
And working that into those tutorials to sort of like through that, like the impact of that charm and that writing kind of helping some of the lessons stick a bit too. Like, yeah, you and I don't play Blanca, but we do know that, listen, in the jungle is crouching medium punch.
Yeah, crouching medium punch. It's a good touch, and also like I think a lot of the other tools they have in the game are for example, they have like presets for like practicing certain things of like, here's your anti-air preset, here's your drive impact counter presets, and it's like these very quick tools to be like, okay, here is the skill that you like the developers have identified as a skill that you need to have to play this game. So here is this preset lesson that you can drill yourself with over and over again to get it right. Like, I did the drive impact counter, like, tutorial, and it's like, oh, I'm suddenly a lot more consistent with that.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've got, they got frame data, they have good combo trials. It's just, they've done a great job with the teaching here in a way that like 5 specifically fumbled the bag, and it's just great to see Street Fighter catching up with a lot of the like the stuff that's happening like in Strive, but also in the indie scene with stuff like Skullgirls, pushing the tutorial game for fighting games, because it's essential.
Yeah, and also fighting games like for years have been bad at teaching new players how to think about their game. And I think that Street Fighter 6 is doing a lot of good things to like get people to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I just I think we've obviously had some criticisms here and there, but I think as an experience of a game to just like load up in a fight versus another person, that's not where almost any of our complaints are, right?
No, not even close. Like it is so fun to just play this fighting game.
Yeah.
As I said before, we are so fucking back.
It's really exciting. I thought this part 2 was going to be half an hour. I was wrong about that too. I'm glad we budgeted time. Yeah, I'll be excited to, I'll be excited to do like mini episodes when like Rashid drops or when Akuma drops.
Yeah.
That's, here's the thing to close on, right?
Sure.
You've already said Maki is one you would like to see back. What characters from Street Fighter Legacy would you like to see return? I'm so glad Akuma's coming back, not for me, for my friend Nicholas, who is just obsessed.
Yeah, he is the Akuma player for a reason. Gosh, who would I want? Because like, honestly, just because I had like so much fun with her in 5, Colleen would be nice to have back. Because I think she had some like really interesting tools. To just like, I would love to see her in like the Street Fighter 6 art style as well. In terms of like other characters, I'm gonna have to think about that for a second. But do you have others that you wish would come back?
I mean, I want to see Seth back. Seth was, my main in 4 and 5. I like the character a lot in both very different incarnations they've had. Even though I think they did fumble parts of it in 5, because they fumbled parts of everything in 5.
They really did, huh?
And I want to see Crimson Viper back.
God, yes, she needs to come back. She is, like, the fact that she hasn't come back in, like, all this time is crazy to me, because Sea Viper is just so cool. I would like to see Dudley come back.
Sure.
Like, he hasn't been in since like Cross Tekken, but I just love that guy. He is just like, he is so fun to like watch competitively, but also just like a fun character just in general.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. That would be fun.
And they don't really do guest characters, but they did bring Akira from rival schools in 5. So I don't know, another rival schools rep would be like really fun for me personally.
Yeah, they don't do guest characters, but they do characters from their own franchises. Like, it is sort of the King of Fighters thing, right? Like, they're not going to bring someone from another company, but they have lots of other fighting games that they could draw upon and incorporate folks from.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thinking on that side of it, it's like, honestly, I'm a cartoon for what I'm about to say, right?
Okay.
For story purposes, they should put Cody in again.
You're right. The thing is, you're right. Because he's still... Oh, okay. Bring back Cody, and then, like, the teaser at the end of his is, like, the silhouette of Mike Hagar.
Okay. No, let's do the most deranged option.
Sure.
Cody got super buff, and Hagar is his alternate costume.
That'd be wild.
Or you do you do Pokemon Trainer from Smash Bros. And Cody, Guy, and Hagar are one character, and they switch out with a special. Just get fucked up.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's go crazy. Oh, man. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing, though, is, like, they made Luke good.
Yes. They made Luke good.
They made Guile, like, properly fun. They just completely salvaged DJ. I bet they're going to bring characters back that I would not be happy to see again and make them cool.
Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like I think also Capcom has done the right thing where, like, you know, throughout 5, one of the things that was just that defined 5 was it like leaks constantly happening. So they just decided, screw it, we're not going to have leaks anymore. We're just going to tell you what's going to happen, like characters that are going to be in the game. But that just means, like, that just gives you more time to be excited for it in some ways. Like, they announced this new character called Aki, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who is very, like, I think Minovsky on Twitter pointed out that, like, AKI is like a acronym for a certain type of like disease you get from poisoning, and has like the long fingernails, and is the same like way that Fang was spelled in Street Fighter V. So we might have another poison user in Street Fighter, but like, so it might be like a similar style to him, but this time it's this like weirdo looking lady, right? And it's like, I don't know what her deal is, but I'm really excited to find out what it is.
Yeah, definitely curious. Hope not too much like Fong, frankly, but you know.
You didn't like the guy who was just like, oh, I will be the perpetual number 2.
I didn't like the guy who was like, I will be the perpetual standing at the edge of the screen, throwing projectiles and running away if you get close. And I know, listen, that's a time-honored tradition, but we've already got Dhalsim. He does it cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's what I've got for now on Street Fighter 6. What about you, Kyrie?
That's about everything I wanted to say. Like, it's great. Should, like, I am really enjoying my time with Street Fighter 6. Like, I'm really happy where it is, and I'm really excited to see where it's going to.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with it. And I hope to see some improvement on. I think all the issues we've mentioned are fixable, except for maybe World Tour. I bet, like, of course, you know, like, asterisk, right? Anything is fixable if you're willing to spend the time and money. I don't think they're going to spend the time and money to make World Tour not a grindy mess. That's just a big ask for something that they don't have a lot of incentive to do. But I think a lot of our other problems are definitely addressable, and I look forward to seeing what they do.
Me too.
But that's it for us now, folks. Until next time, you can, Kyria, where can people find you on Twitter? Where can people find you on social media services?
The social media I would like to promote at the time is there's 2 of them. There's co-host. You can find me Kyrie page like on co-host. And then also there is the Scanline Media Tumblr that I swear I will do something with. It is there. It is out there. That is scanlinemedia.tumblr.com. I'll have to figure out some fun things to do with that thing, because like I use Tumblr. I used to use Tumblr a lot, and I'm trying to use that a little bit more often as well. And there's some fun things you can do on that platform, so check out those 2 places.
All right. If you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at Sixdetmar, SIXDETTMAR. That's also where you can find me on co-host. I post more on co-host than on Twitter, or at least I post more substantially. Like, number of things, I will post like the word Gundam on Twitter, I suppose, right? But you want real content, go to co-host.
Yeah, go to co-host to find like a post about like Gundam, but Gundam as in multiple paragraphs about a Gundam.
A full write-up on the 3 Regazis.
I like that write-up. It was very good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Either of those places, you can, message me anyway, DM, whatever. If you have questions, comments, feedback for this or any other Scanline Media production. And all of those can be found at scanlinemedia.com and patreon.com/scanlinemedia. We would appreciate your support. That's it for now. Until next time, folks. Peace out.
See ya. Quarter up, I guess.